Congratulations to everyone who managed to get an order in of silver in the last big dip. Not that the real price of silver dipped as much as the paper price. The paper price dipped a long way. The real price only went down a very small fraction of what the paper or digital illusion price of silver did. In my last couple of videos, I talked about how I locked in an order at the Golden State Mint, quite near the bottom of the big criminal manipulation. But the real price didn't go down as much as the paper price, not nearly as much. But I locked in an order, Golden State Mint Silver Shield, latest Silver Shields, and they've telling all their customers they just can't get the silver. So whether I will get the order or whether I'll be refunded, I don't know, but I do trust the Golden State Mint. They're not going to go bankrupt. Like lots of other mints have taken loads of funds in and saying we'll get it to you when we can get it, and then they go bankrupt and everyone loses all their funds. So be very careful who you do. In fact, I think that's the last time I will ever put an order in for silver that they haven't got and you have to go on a waiting list. My advice is do not put an order in for silver where you go on a waiting list and they say if and when we can get it, you'll get your silver, or you might be refunded if you can't get the silver. Only buy what they've got in stock, which means you pay a lot more for it. My advice is only from now on, only pay a lot more for silver they've actually got now. And if they say awaiting stock, but you can lock in these prices now, go on a waiting list, no, it's too dangerous. Only buy what silver is in stock. And this brings me to the big difference now, the differential between the silver real price and the paper digital illusion of silver price. They are disconnecting, and this is true across the board. Now, I've been well known for copper, silver and copper, and I say buy silver in the big dips. But when it was 120, no, I don't know. It's up to you whether you do or not. I'm not going to. I'm only going to be buying silver in the big dips. But I do buy copper all the time. And I've been doing this for, since my kids were young, for over a decade now. And I promote urban mining, where you ask the bank to, can I please withdraw this amount of copper pennies? They say copper, but pennies and 2p's. A 1p is 3.5 grams, a 2p is exactly twice, that's 7 grams. So they're both the same, the weight. Now I'll tell you the figures from my memory. 1 metric ton would cost you £2,800 approximately. 1 metric ton of copper, pennies, would cost you £2,800, and the paper price of that right now is about £10,000. That's now, end of, early February 2026, 10,000. That's a fox, isn't it, Kiki? It's a fox screaming somewhere. Come on, let's go. Come on, Kiki, let's not hear that fox. So the figures again, if you spend £2,800 on pennies, and it is a bit of work because you have to use a magnet to suck out all the ones that aren't copper and deposit them back at the bank and go to a different bank and get another, say, £100 worth of pennies and 2p's. You use a big magnet with the kids or the grandchildren, and you use a big magnet to suck out all the ones that aren't copper, leaving all the ones that are copper on the table. You deposit all the ones that aren't copper into these bags, weigh them. You can just deposit them back at the bank quickly, all the steel ones that aren't copper. And I'm finding it used to be like 40% copper, 60% steel. These days, it's about 20% copper, 80% steel. So it's a lot more work these days than it used to be. But it can still be done. And face value, £2,800 approximately of pennies and 2p's is scrap value, or the paper price copper, it would be 10,000. A penny is worth 3p. A 2p is worth 6p if it's copper. That's the paper price. Now the real price is disconnected completely. The real price of copper is about 300 or 400% of the paper scrap price. You cannot buy a ton of real copper for £10,000. On paper you can buy ETF copper or a digital paper illusion of copper for £10,000 for a metric ton. If you want to buy real, the cheapest you'll ever get it for is 30,000 or 40,000. Whatever form it's in, pipes, copper bars, copper. Now I do actually stack other copper, which I don't recommend, but I quite like some of the Silver Shield designs. Chris Dwayne makes some amazing designs. I like the real controversial ones the best. I've been primarily stacking silver, but he also makes copper ones. But you're paying 500-600% the paper price for that. I think sometimes it's more like 700%, actually. Like, the price... if I buy that copper in pennies and 2p's from the bank from Urban Mining, I can get it at 1/3 of the paper spot price. You know, less than half, 1/3. 1p is worth 3p now, paper price. And real price is worth about, I don't know, 7, 8p, 9p. 1p, I can buy 1 penny, 3.5 grams of copper from the bank for 1p. Paper price is 3p, real price is about 7 or 8p. So the disconnect between paper and real is massive, and it is growing. And I do buy these copper, you could call it bullion, I don't know if you call it bullion, but copper rounds and bars, and I pay, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 or maybe 600% of the paper price for those. That is the value of them. You know, you're never going to be able to buy real copper at the paper price. You're never going to be able to buy real silver at the paper price. The disconnect is growing. And the good thing about copper is you can store at home because it's so low value for the weight. You know, I'm not quite at a 1 metric ton yet of copper, but I'm hoping to get there before the window closes, before you can no longer buy 1p, 3.5 grams of copper for 1p. I think that window will close, but it's not over yet. You can do it. And my group of trolls, my haters, have said, I've never seen anything so desperate. Oh, they're laughing at me. What a crazy, poor kids having such a nut job as a father for teaching them about monetary history, and for going and getting all these copper bags, putting them on the table, and the kids use a magnet to suck out all the ones that aren't copper, put them back at the back in the bags, weigh them and deposit them back at the bank and keep all the copper ones. What an absolute tinfoil hat nut job. That's the most stupidest, ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, and they're laughing. And there's me, almost up to 1 metric ton of copper. I spent about £2,000 on copper pennies. I'm hoping to get to 2,800 before the window closes, and you cannot buy 3.5 grams of copper for 1p. Now, I do store that at home because I think it's quite safe. If I was burgled, if I was... government came around, I don't think they'd take 1 metric ton of copper. This face value £2,800, even though the paper value is 10,000 and the real value is about £30,000. But 1 metric ton, you know, it's not easy to move that. And I think the way the value is absolutely skyrocketing, it won't be long. That £2,800 face value will be worth 50, 60, 70,000, 80,000 as the dollar and the pound slowly die. And they will, and they are doing. What will I use this for? So, once again, I don't mind storing the copper at home, but the 2 rules of silver investing: never store silver at home. A little tiny bit's okay. Every now and again, if you buy a bit, you'll have little bits at home. But don't store a lot of silver at home. You can store a lot of copper at home. It's quite safe. Kiggy, don't go too far. Come on. We're not going that way. If I was burgled, I don't think they're going to see all these boxes of pennies and 2p's. I don't think they'll bother. They might take a bit of it. It's no big loss. They might if they want to. They're not going to be able to take a ton. They're just not going to be able to. Metric ton is too difficult to move. But what I'm going to be using it for, so all my silver, when I build up a certain weight, it goes into one of my survival caches. Come on, kick this way. This way. And in survival caches, I recommend you put tent, sleeping bag, mylar bags, survival knives, survival cookpot, survival food, long life foods. I've got good boots in there, waterproofs, really fold up small, warm clothes, waterproofs, a few survival supplies for all the family, long life foods, and silver bullion. This is what you do with you have survival caches spread out. If you have to go north, you've got one up there. If you have to go east, you've got one there. If you have to go west, you've got one there. If you've got to go south, you've got one there. And you spread them out, and you have them near to loved ones or survival retreats or bug out locations. Have a few. You know, who knows what situations there'll be in the future. You might have to just, I can't go that way, I'm going to go this way. That's all right, we go to our nearest survival cache. You've got silver there. Some people say put cash there. I don't think so. By the time you dig that up, it'll be absolutely worthless. But silver and copper, have a bit of copper there for low value transactions. But my copper I do store at home. One day I'll move it probably. But I think you'll be using this. Now here's the thing that I probably differ from most people. I think we're quite near the end of the current financial or monetary cycle that is repeated all through history. If you look at the signs now, and other people are talking about this, Peter Schiff is talking about this, the dollar is near its deathbed. It really is. It could be another year, yeah, I know. It's not imminent. It's going to be a long, drawn-out affair. I think the dollar has got stage 4 cancer spread everywhere. It's in the bones, in the blood, it's everywhere. And all the chemo and all the radiation therapy is maybe prolonging. There's all sorts of things prolonging, keeping them alive, machines keeping the patient alive. But it is definitely going to be fatal. And there is nothing that can be done to save the US dollar. Nothing. All they can do is delay the inevitable. It is terminal. The US dollar will collapse. Whether the US dollar is first, or maybe the euro or the pound or one of the other currencies might be the first to collapse. But when one of them collapses, you've got a currency crisis, they will all collapse. This is why I store copper pennies and 2p's. I think there will be confusion. When the currency crisis really, the banking system will collapse, and the government will have an emergency measure. CBDCs, don't worry, you'll have the bank is gone, but we'll convert all your money over, your currency, be converted over to these new brick coins or star coin. You'll have another name for it. Digital currency, and we'll use that. Now, if you want to transact privately, anonymously, you want to go to someone to buy some goods or services, for some reason, you don't want to use the star coin, the government-issued CBDC, central bank digital currency. There might be limits on what you can buy. There might be all sorts of reasons, restrictions. You don't want to use that. And you don't want big governments and big business to see all your spending. You want to buy things anonymously and privately where nobody can understand, nobody can see what you're doing. This is where silver grams and copper grams come in. So this is why I like very small denomination silver. If you've got a whole ounce, that's a lot. 1 ounce of silver. They test it. Yes, that's 1 ounce of silver. That's a lot. Do you want to buy a month's worth of shopping and lots of other goods and services? Well, it's hard to carry that much. But what if you use copper pennies and 2p's? I think a month's worth of groceries from a producer of food, or someone who's got food to sell, good quality food, and you want to buy this much food for your family. The price has gone crazy in CBDCs, and it's going to cost a lot. You just haven't got that much. But you want to buy privately. If you've got silver and copper, you'll be very safe. You can sleep well at night. You'll be able to buy the things. You can buy transport to a safe place. You can buy accommodation. You can buy survival supplies. You can buy medicine if you need it. You can buy goods and services you need. This is where I think the copper, pennies and 2p's will really become valuable. And this has been done all through history. Ancient Egyptian, ancient Babylon, Medo-Persia, ancient Greece, ancient Rome. They debased the money. They started off with gold, and then they went to silver. They debased the silver by just having copper slugs with silver plated, like silver, and called them silver. Those who held on to the real silver, and they got rid of the copper slugs with silver coating on them, they kept the silver and spend, the smart people keep the valuable ones. And then even the copper went to iron. They started, even the copper coins, they started replacing them with iron. This happened in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and it's happening today. It's happening in the UK. Up until 1992, all pennies and 2p's were copper. After 1993, they went to steel with the copper colouring on them. Can't tell by looking at them, but you can tell by a magnet. And then 1998, for some reason, they went back to copper again. And then after 1999, it's all been steel. No more copper. There's loads of copper still in circulation. Loads. There's pennies and 2p's from 1960s, 1970s. They're still in circulation. You can take them out. The smart people like me and people who follow my channel are having a goal to try and stack 1 metric ton of copper pennies and 2p's at currently a third of the paper price of copper, and let's say almost a tenth of the real value. That's basically it. If you can stack £100 of pennies and 2p's, I'd say that is worth £1,000 in real value, what you can buy with it. Face value £100. I think very soon, maybe not yet, but very soon, it will be every £100 face value will be worth £1,000 in how we think of, like what £1,000 will buy. But the pound is going away. Have no illusions. The banks are collapsing. All currencies, the pound, the dollar, the euro, the yen, all the fiat currencies of the world are collapsing. They're all like skydivers jumping out of a plane. They're all racing to the bottom, to the ground. Now, some are falling faster than others, and then some will slow down, like they grab a big... If you've ever done skydiving, if you like try and grab an air bubble below you, you slow yourself down. If you go really aerodynamic into a dive, you go really fast. Sometimes the yen is falling really fast, sometimes the dollar's falling fast. They're all racing to the bottom. They are all going down against real things. The winners are gold, silver and copper, a tri-metallic standard. I don't like gold because it's very plentiful. It's far more plentiful than we have been made to believe. But if you really want to listen to what I'm saying, Kiki, come on this way. Come on, Kiki, this way. I say keep stacking silver, especially try and stack in the dips. We had a big dip recently. That's when you really want to try it. The real price doesn't go down as much as the paper price, but the real price does go down a little bit when the paper price dips a long way. Try and stack silver in the dips. Wait for the dips. Stack silver then. I know it's difficult, but as a secondary option, people ask, well, if I can't stack silver, what else? What's next? Copper. In the UK, you can do urban mining copper, but if you don't want to do that, then yeah, you can buy copper bullion. It's probably a good couple of 100% more than the paper price. But definitely stack copper, coins and bars, stack silver, keep them in survival caches to use for barter, for trade, when you want to buy things privately, anonymously. You want to buy goods and services, and you don't want to use central bank digital currency.